What if one of the biggest winners of the artificial intelligence revolution wasn't OpenAI, wasn't Google, wasn't Microsoft, and wasn't Nvidia? What if it was a tiny Caribbean island with fewer people than a small town? An island with no major tech companies, no giant data centers, no AI researchers, no billion-dollar startups, and yet every time a new AI company launches, this island gets paid. Not because it built the future, but because it accidentally became the owner of one of the most valuable digital assets on Earth. A mistake? A coincidence? A bureaucratic decision made decades ago? One that is now generating millions of dollars and transforming the future of an entire nation? This is the story of how a forgotten island accidentally won the AI boom, and why it reveals something much bigger about power, wealth, and the digital economy. When most people think about artificial intelligence, they think about Silicon Valley, massive tech companies, powerful GPU processors, billions of dollars in venture capital. But hidden thousands of miles away from California sits a small island called Anguilla. Most people have never heard of it. It has a population of roughly 15,000 people. No natural resources, no large industrial sector, no strategic military importance. For decades, Anguilla struggled with a problem shared by many small islands. How do you build wealth when you have very little to sell? The answer would arrive from a completely unexpected direction: the internet. And more specifically, two letters: AI. To understand how this happened, we need to go back nearly 50 years. Long before artificial intelligence became the hottest industry on Earth. Long before ChatGPT. Long before Silicon Valley became obsessed with machine learning. In 1974, international organizations began standardizing country codes. Every nation and territory would receive a unique two-letter identifier. The system seemed incredibly boring. Pure bureaucracy. The kind of administrative process nobody pays attention to. At the time, nobody could have predicted that these two letters would eventually become valuable digital real estate. But that's exactly what happened. Anguilla received the code, AI. Just two letters. Nothing special. Or so it seemed. For decades, the designation sat quietly in the background. No one cared. No one fought over it. No one imagined it would one day become a national asset worth millions. But history has a strange habit of turning overlooked details into opportunities. And this is where the story starts getting interesting. In the physical world, land creates wealth. The most valuable cities often sit in strategic locations: trade routes, ports, resources, transportation hubs. Whoever controls those locations often becomes rich. But the internet created something entirely new: digital land, domain names, web addresses, virtual territory. Suddenly, certain words, extensions, and online identities became valuable. Some countries discovered they owned surprisingly attractive digital assets. Tuvalu became famous for .tv. Montenegro benefited from .me. Colombia found demand for .co. But none of these would experience what was about to happen to Anguilla. Technology trends come and go. Every so often, one trend becomes so powerful that it transforms everything around it. Artificial intelligence became that trend. For years, the .ai domain extension was relatively obscure. A few technology enthusiasts used it. A handful of startups registered names. Nothing extraordinary. Then everything changed. OpenAI launched ChatGPT. Investors rushed into AI. Startups appeared overnight. Suddenly, every founder wanted to be associated with artificial intelligence. And every founder wanted the perfect domain name, a domain ending in .ai. The same two letters that represented Anguilla. The same two letters assigned almost by accident decades earlier. Demand exploded. Thousands became tens of thousands became hundreds of thousands. Every registration generated revenue. Every renewal generated revenue. Every new startup entering the AI race contributed to Anguilla's income. Without building a single AI model, without hiring a single machine learning engineer, without competing against Silicon Valley, the island simply owned the digital land everybody suddenly wanted. At first glance, this sounds like a lucky accident, and it was, but luck alone doesn't explain what happened. The real story is about ownership, because ownership is one of the most powerful concepts in economics. The people who become wealthy are not always the people who create value. Sometimes they are the people who own the infrastructure through which value flows. Railroad owners, port operators, pipeline companies, payment networks, stock exchanges. These businesses often become extraordinarily powerful because they sit between buyers and sellers. They own the system. Anguilla found itself in a similar position. It wasn't building AI. It owned a tiny piece of the infrastructure surrounding AI. And that distinction matters, because infrastructure scales. A fisherman can only catch so many fish. A hotel can only host so many tourists. But digital infrastructure can serve millions simultaneously. That changes everything. Most countries become richer by producing more goods, more services, more exports. Anguilla's situation is different. The island earns revenue from global demand. Every new AI startup anywhere on Earth increases the value of its digital asset. Whether the company is based in San Francisco, London, Berlin, Singapore, or Dubai, the island benefits. This creates a fascinating dynamic. For perhaps the first time in history, a tiny Caribbean territory is directly connected to one of the fastest-growing technologies on Earth. The success of artificial intelligence and the prosperity of Anguilla have become linked, not because of geography, not because of trade, but because of ownership. And this is where the story becomes much larger than one island, because Anguilla reveals a powerful truth about the modern economy. For most of human history, wealth came from physical resources: land, gold, oil, factories, agriculture. Today, some of the most valuable assets are entirely digital: algorithms, platforms, networks, data, intellectual property, domain names. The winners of the future may not be the people with the most resources. They may be the people who own the right piece of infrastructure at exactly the right moment. A forgotten domain extension, a software platform, a payment network, a digital marketplace. The pattern is always the same. Technology changes, human incentives do not. People follow opportunity, money follows attention, and wealth flows toward ownership. The strangest part of this story is that Anguilla never planned any of this. There was no master strategy, no government initiative, no technological breakthrough, no visionary entrepreneur predicting the future. The island simply benefited from a coincidence, a bureaucratic code assigned decades before artificial intelligence existed. And yet that coincidence is now reshaping its economy. Roads can be improved, schools can be expanded, public services can be strengthened. Government revenue can increase, all because 2 letters suddenly became valuable. It sounds absurd, but in the digital age, absurd things happen surprisingly often. When people talk about the AI revolution, they usually focus on the companies building the technology, the founders, the investors, the engineers. But hidden behind every technological revolution is another story. A story about infrastructure, about ownership, about the systems that quietly collect value while everyone else fights for attention. Anguilla didn't invent artificial intelligence. It didn't build ChatGPT. It didn't create the AI boom. But it happened to own a tiny piece of the digital world that everybody suddenly needed. And that may be the most important lesson of all, because the greatest fortunes are not always built by predicting the future. Sometimes they are built by accidentally owning the road that the future decides to travel on. If you enjoy documentaries that uncover the hidden systems behind power, money, technology, and influence, subscribe to Nexplainr. And here is a question. What other overlooked digital assets today could become tomorrow's gold mine? Let us know in the comments below.